Welcome to Inside Bremerton. This is the City of Bremerton's video newsletter, focusing on issues and topics important to its citizens. We have a great topic today. We're talking about the Bremerton Utility Rate Study. Now, it sounds a little bit boring, but it is a huge, huge topic, not only for our citizens, but for our departments and our city staff. Joining me to talk about this topic today are our Finance Director, Becky Hasart. Next to Becky is our Public Works Director, Chal Martin. Welcome, Chal. And then our two brains that we brought all the way from Redmond today. This is Angie Sanchez. She is the principal with the FCS group, and she's going to tell us a little bit about that. And next to me is Sergey Tarasov. He is the project manager for our utility study. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
We're going to try to make this really interesting and light and really informative, because this is going to, of course, affect all the citizens in Bremerton that have utility bills. We want to remind you that your utility bill is a three-part bill. Right. It is your water bill, it is your stormwater bill, and your sewer bill. Did I get that right, Chal?
You did, Charleen.
So all of these are in one bill. So Becky, why don't we start with you? Give us a little bit of background from the city's perspective on why this is important.
Okay, well, first off, the city wants to be very proactive about its utilities. We want to make sure that the utilities are healthy, not only from a system standpoint, but also a fiscal standpoint, which means not only just looking year to year when we do budget, but also looking at a minimum 6-year horizon, so that hopefully we can minimize any surprises that might crop up as time flies. The city did a rate study back in the 2005-2006 time horizon, but that was the last one it did. And at that time, it focused mostly on the revenue requirements and didn't do as much with the cost of services. Council has been wanting to do a comprehensive rate study for the last couple of years. However, we weren't quite in a position to begin it until we, let's be frank, had a little bit of stability in the Public Works Director's office. And with Chal coming on board now, we feel we are finally there. And so the reason I mention that is that, again, for the purposes of this particular rate study, we truly wanted to look at both costs as well as revenue. And Chal, with his leadership, with his group, have done what I think has been a remarkable job as, as a finance director, in that they really looked at and tried to find efficiencies and decrease costs of providing these services before we then started looking at the revenue requirements. I am involved, even though I'm not in Public Works, I am involved as, the finance director, again, from a big picture perspective with the city, as kind of the overall project manager, to help it fit in with what the city is doing as a whole to reach fiscal stability as well. But as far as the specifics with regards to cost and the components that go into this rate study, Chal can speak to that much better than I can, so I think I will turn that over to you.
Now, Chal's been with the City of Bremerton for about 8 months now, and
Yes.
been pretty busy for those 8 months, including this huge project. Chal, why is this rate study important, especially on a capital issue, your capital plans, and the health and safety of your department?
Well, of course, Bremerton is lucky enough to run these 3 utilities itself, and that's a great benefit to the city. And we, I have been here about 8 months, Char, as you mentioned. I've had a chance to get out and look at the system. And we've got, I want people to know that generally, from my perspective, we've got a healthy system. It's complicated, and many parts of the system are getting old. And so we worry about maintenance. We worry about replacing the components of the system that are critical to keep the operation going. People, don't really think about the service that's provided, water service, sewer service. It's just people take that for granted, but these are fundamental, basic quality of life services for our citizens, and we serve more than just the city.
That's right.
So it is, of course I'm a public works guy, but I've been very impressed since I've been here with our staff. I've been very impressed with our system. This study has been great from my perspective as well, because these folks are very experienced. They can compare our system to others throughout the state, certainly in the Puget Sound region, and this information is really extremely valuable for us to help us manage the system.
So we took on the rate study last fall, 2012. Is that correct, Becky? The process began?
Actually, the process began more in May of 2012 with the selection of the consultant, and then just defining the parameters that we were going to use as we moved forward.
So Angie, tell us about the FCS group and what kind of work is it you folks do?
Great. And it's probably one of the first things is probably to define what FCS Group actually
That'd
means.
be great.
It's Financial Consulting Solutions Group. We are proud to be celebrating our 25th anniversary this year, so we started business in 1988. And really, we specialize in the area of municipal rates, cost of service, and management planning. So this is really what we do.
Yeah,
This is what we do on
great.
day in, day out, and working with entities for fiscal sustainability and efficiency. And so that is really the role of FCS Group here.
Is Bremerton unique that it owns its own water utility?
There are a number of entities that own their own water utility. But I think what they're doing well is that they're really trying to be proactive. And again, Council has had one of its initiatives to be fiscally sustainable. And so again, that is what we're trying to kind of come in, being a very collaborative process with staff, as well as some of the citizens committees that we have been involved with, and Council as well, a number of different workshops, is to really, again, look at our cost, what is the cost of service, and evaluate if our rates are sufficient, or does a change need to occur.
Hopefully citizens have seen our program. We've done a few programs with Pat Coxon at the wastewater treatment plant, and the whole gist of the show was, this is what happens when you flush your toilet. And they run a very, very efficient shop out there. And number one, it's extremely clean for the kind of work that they do. But you can be really proud of the wastewater system and the treatment system in our city. So Sergey, tell us a little bit about what's the basis of the costs used in the study. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, for the study period, we took a look at a 6-year horizon. As Becky mentioned, we wanted to make sure we capture any fluctuations in costs and revenues. If anything extreme is coming up in the future, we didn't want to come there and have a spike in rates. We want to gradually get to a point if there's a need. We took the 2013 draft budget at the time as a starting basis, but we did quite a bit more intensive work with it. We worked with city staff, line item detail, to make sure we're forecasting things appropriately, we're incorporating the correct costs and revenues.
And Char, maybe I could jump in here. My staff went through a pretty intensive look at our capital lists. And those capital lists really are a big component of the study. And so we went through and scrubbed those projects. In some cases, we reduced the scope of the projects. In other cases, we moved the projects out if we didn't feel that they were necessary within that 6-year horizon. And we are continuing to scrub that capital list. And we anticipate we'll make a final adjustment to it before the final rates are determined. And Pat was involved in that, as well as a lot of our senior staff, both managers and supervisors. So we, we feel like, as far as going forward, the basis of the study, what was the term that we were talking about, Becky?
Benchmarking.
Well, the benchmarking, but I mean, as far as, we are not looking for a Cadillac system here in the city of Bremerton. My own supervisors, especially our supervisors, the folks that are out there repairing the system day in and day out, believe me, they are very concerned that we have adequate resources to keep the system maintained to a reliable standard. And that's what we're trying to achieve. But we are not, we certainly aren't trying to bring in more revenue than we need to achieve that standard.
Good point.
And
Great point.
if I may also add, you mentioned Pat Coxon and how well they are running the treatment plants and the entire sewer system. One of the components of this rate study that makes it different from the one that was done in prior years is the benchmarking. It was going out and seeing how our cost of service compared to other jurisdictions, other utilities, both larger and smaller, to see if there were other maybe innovative ways to do things. And what was very surprising, at least for me as a finance director, or I shouldn't say surprising, it was very validating to see what came out of that, in that for the majority of the factors, we were actually more efficient than those benchmarked jurisdictions were. So it says a lot about what the crews have done up to this point with the resources that they have had. You know, because again, we wanted to make sure that, you know, as Chal was just pointing out, we're not asking to gold plate the system, and we don't want to have to bring in more revenue than what we really need to maintain that reliability. So it was nice to see that benchmarking. And again, we didn't know how that was going to come in. So again, it was very validating to see that. And I'm sure you'll probably ask us, I would guess, about our webpage that's associated with this. That study can be found out there as well for those that are interested in taking a look at it.
Let's talk a little bit about that, Sergey. We want to make sure, as ratepayers in the utility for the city of Bremerton, you can go onto the city's website, and there is a, if you go to www.ci.bremerton.wa.us, there's a little box that says utility rate study. Click on that and you can actually put in the numbers for your current bill and see how things are going to change, correct?
That's right. And on top of that, if you haven't been following the rate study process from the beginning, the website will provide you with summary information. The presentations of it we have actually presented to the council and to the committee. It'll have frequently asked questions sections where it'll provide you additional information regarding what is a rate study, how it happens, what goes into a rate study. And as Shari mentioned, there is an interactive tool that can allow you to provide your own feedback on some of the decision-making points that we'll be discussing as we continue the rate study regarding the rate design options for the water utility.
And there's public presentations that you can take part of, one of which is happening very quickly, but there's going to be presentation at Chamber of Commerce, and this is going to go on the public outreach to try to inform citizens for quite a while, correct, Angie?
Absolutely, and that's really the goal here is, you know, we've kind of been in the process over months, really looking at the details and rolling out what potentially some options are for consideration for the council. And now we're at the stage where we are really wanting to encourage public outreach. You know, so people to go and visit the website, you know, kind of really digest the information that's out there, because we were really wanting to get some feedback in terms of what are the options that make most sense to some people. We'd love feedback, you know, based on the website or you know, based on some of the meetings that will be coming up. We would love to have that from the public for sure.
And again, if I may add, because I actually had the president of our Downtown Business Association today in my office, and he was asking about this a little bit. And one of the things that he had asked is, how much input are we looking for from the public at this point? Does the public get a chance to talk about the capital list, the cost of services? And I explained to him, at this point we're looking for impact on the three options with regards to how we set up the water rates. However, public has had a chance to have input up to this point through representatives on the Citizen Advisory Committee. So this isn't just the city, the directors working with the consultants saying, this is what we need, now please give us the money. We have been working with citizen advisors, going through all the details, as Sergey and Angie mentioned earlier, practically down to the line item level, to make sure that, you know, it made sense to them. They asked us questions. We could react, and we've made changes based on their input. So this isn't just, you know, the ivory tower coming out and saying, this is what we need.
So those of us that are very, very interested in how our rates are going to increase, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. And what kind of increase do we see are we gonna have, do you think? I know it's based individually, but can we give a ballpark figure? Is it going to be huge? Is it going to be increased incrementally? How's that going to happen?
As I mentioned, we look out on a multi-year period, a 6-year period, 2013 through 2016. Since there are 3 utilities, each one has its own individual adjustment. For the first year of the adjustments is scheduled to be approximately first quarter of 2013. On the positive note, the biggest utility, the wastewater sewer utility, is actually not going to increase this year. So the first scheduled increase for the wastewater utility will not happen until 2014. In terms of the stormwater and the water utility, the estimated increase for an average type of customer, average user of these facilities, is going to be approximately $2.70 on a monthly basis. Now it'll vary depending how much water a customer uses based on their personal impact.
Those folks that are on a tight budget are gonna really need to know this. So if you're seeing this program, if you've seen these presentations, please make sure your neighbors know about this and help them understand. If they need help understanding, they can go to the website and get help, or call the Public Works Utilities. Who is fielding questions? Who is helping folks understand?
Actually, the best way to do it is on the web page, and I know not everybody is as comfortable with it. However, we have a mechanism set up through the web page to collect comments, questions. There's
Great.
even a survey with regards to the interactive tool that Sergey mentioned earlier. And the reason that we would like to direct everybody through there is that then we make sure we're capturing all that information in one spot, so that nothing falls through the cracks. That way we can see all the comments, the questions, and try to address all of them. So that's probably the best way to do it. Otherwise, we have, they can call the finance department and ask for me, and I'm not always available right when you call, but I try and return calls as quickly as possible. We do have the customer service line, but again, I would emphasize the best place to make sure that you will get consideration for your comment and your questions is to do it through the webpage. So,
The city, the citizens in the city of Bremerton pay their utility bills on a bi-monthly rate, bi-monthly time frame.
Right.
So you're going to see an increase, but remember, you only pay every other month for utility.
Correct.
So it's been a long process. We really need citizen input. Please go to the website again, www.ci.bremerton.wa.us. Click on the utility study. Questions are there that will really, really help you understand. And council's going to really be talking about this during their council meetings. We want to get the word out. I'm sure there'll be some press releases, and we're going to get the word out. And thank you for your hard work. Have we covered everything? I think we've done a pretty broad brush, and now it's up to you to try to find out, or you will be able to find out by going on the website and clicking on it and putting in your own bill numbers, and then you can really see it. The phone number to finance with the City of Bremerton is 360-473-5722, right to Becky's desk. Public Works phone number, how about sharing that?
You know, Char, I called myself today on my cell phone, and we just had our phones changed over. I'm not sure that it's working right.
Well, we'll post that on everybody, on the
But, well, I
front
can
page.
give you a number that I think will still get through.
Perfect.
It's 473-5315.
That's great.
Yeah.
You're getting a new phone system. Lucky you.
Yeah.
Hopefully we will too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your hard work and your willingness to come in today and really helping our city through this process and helping our citizens understand it. Stay tuned for more information on this utility rate study and how it's going to affect you. Remember to go to the website, tune into those council meetings, talk to your council district representative, and we'll see you next time on Inside Bremerton.